لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله رب السماوات ورب الأرض رب العالمين. الحمد لله الذي بنعمته تتم الصالحات. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. ربنا لك الحمد حتى ترضى، ولك الحمد إذا رضيت، ولك الحمد بعد الرضا. صل اللهم وسلم وبارك على سيد الأولين والآخرين محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له الملك الحق المبين، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وخليله وأمينه على وحيه. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله ولتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. Dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, all praise and glory and thanks are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We owe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala everything we have. We are completely dependent on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all our needs. So every wise Muslim should intensify both his expressions of gratitude. You thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all that He has given you, and there is nothing you can do to thank Him enough. And Allah promised that the more you thank Him, the more He gives you. وَإِذْ تَأَذَّنَ رَبُّكُمْ لَإِنْ شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. And also in parallel, intensify your efforts of dua and praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all your needs. Today, inshallah, we're continuing with the topic that we opened last week. It's a topic of, it's critical in so many ways. It's about the relationships, between people, and how do we interact with each other, and how do we establish and maintain solid relationships at all levels. We're talking about all types of relationships between spouses, parents and children, members of the community, members in the workplace, the neighborhood, members of societies, etc. This is critical in general for the well-being of the family, for the well-being of the society. It is critical for us as Muslims because there is no da'wah without relationships. And there is no parenting without relationships. If you're thinking about teaching and raising your child and mentoring your child, you cannot do it if your relationship with your child is shaky. So if you want to present Islam to someone, it's not going to be effective if your relationship with that person is shaky or superficial or not in good shape. So relationships are critical for the well-being of the family, for the well-being of the society, for parenting, for da'wah, for everything. And then we address this issue as we address all the issues, like any good physicians. It's diagnosis and solution. Why relationships nowadays are very weak, very superficial. You notice that in the society in general, in the community, among family, extended families, and even the small family. Relationships nowadays are not in the best of shapes. They are very shallow. They tend to be very superficial, very weak. And the question, of course, is how to fix this, how to deal with this situation. We ended up with some conclusions that relationships are weak because we don't understand each other. People, they don't understand each other. They cannot establish a good relationship without understanding each other. الإنسان عدو من يجهل. People usually try to run away or take distance from something that is not clear for them, or they don't know, or they don't understand. And you can tell. The more you know a person, the closer you find yourself to that person. So we don't understand each other because we don't know each other. We have little information about each other, so we don't understand each other. And why we don't know and we don't understand each other? Because we don't listen to one another, and because we have very severe problem of communication. We have very severe problem of communication. We are among few nations in the world who interrupt one another, don't allow someone to finish his thought or what he has to say, so that's very common. We also make assumptions. A lot of times you talk to someone and you find this person start making assumptions about your thoughts. and your opinion and your feeling. See, I can express them. Yeah. I don't need anybody to express these for me. So don't make assumptions, and you end up doing monologue, talking to yourself, asking the question and answering. Communication is that will kill communications or put words in the mouth of somebody. So effective communication will lead to knowing and understanding each other, and that's the foundation of solid relationships. We also talked about the fact there is a need for a paradigm shift here. The fact that there is something that we have to accept. It's a reality of life. It's that we are different, and we will remain different. And there is nothing wrong with this. And we have to accept each other and learn how to manage our differences, not to eliminate them. This is probably we are among the people in this world who needs this the most, to understand that there is no such thing as eliminating differences. There is something called managing differences. So we get with twin people who are born at the same time, in the same family, go to the same school, raised in the same house, and they are different. They come out different. They have different preferences in life and different things. They think differently. That's how Allah created us. And Allah created us different so that we know each other. Not so that we become like each other. We don't have to. So we don't have to be like each other. I don't have to be like you. I don't have to be the way you want me to be. Even if I'm your child, I don't have to be the way you want me to be. I don't have to be like you. People are themselves, and we have to accept this. So we have to switch our focus from forcing each other's opinion or trying to make people like you or try to make people the way you want them, into trying to understand people and then find a way to communicate and deal with them. So managing differences, not eliminating them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us different so that we know each other. So the goal has to change. Rather than forcing my opinion on you and force you to be convinced, it just try to understand you and then try to communicate effectively with you. So we should not, when your goal is to make people like you as if you are the standard, or make people exactly the way you want them, as if you have the option to tailor people again. If this is our focus, then we cannot communicate effectively and we cannot have good relationships. Then we become very irritated by our differences. You cannot tolerate differences because your focus is in the wrong place. So if the goal becomes to live together while we are different, then we have to go in the direction of trying to understand each other and then listening to each other and then accepting our differences and try to manage them. When people try to eliminate differences and they couldn't, what did they end up doing? They ended up eliminating one another. In societies where there is diversity and one group of people could not force its way on the other, they could not eliminate differences, so they eliminate the other group altogether. That's the ethnic cleansing and all the genocides in the world that take place. This is at the roots of it. It's when people did not accept differences, so they could not eliminate them, so they decided to eliminate the people themselves. So understanding each other, next level, we talked about accepting each other. You want to have a relationship with anybody. Good relationship, you have to accept that person. And then I was very clear, I said that accepting doesn't mean that you condone or endorse or accept everything that person does. No. There is a big difference between accepting the individual and rejecting some of his behavior. And we have to differentiate between the two, even when we're dealing with our children. At no time you should attack the person or should discredit the person. You talk about behavior and you be specific. It's not wholesale. You don't come to your child and say you're a failure. That will kill any possible communication. There is one behavior that you don't like and you discuss that particular behavior. And you discuss it the right way, at the right time, with the right dose. It's not like just venting out anger. So accepting each other, mutual understanding. Next level, it's mutual acceptance. And then differentiating between as is. You accept people as is. You married someone, it's no longer, you no longer have the option to reshape that person. You made that choice, you accept that person as is, and you try to find a way to live together. If we don't accept each other, there is no relationship. Again, if we don't understand each other, there is no relationship. If we don't accept each other, also there can be no relationship. And in order to accept each other, we have to abandon judgmental attitudes. Allah did not appoint you to judge people. Allah reserved judgment for Himself. إِنَّمَا عَلَيْكَ الْبَلَاغُ وَعَلَيْنَا الْحِسَابُ. So forget about you appointing yourself judge and evaluating people. This is a good Muslim, this is a bad Muslim, this is kafir, that's none of your business. That's something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reserved to Himself. We are not equipped to do this, and we were not assigned to do this. It's not your job, and you don't have the tools to do it. Why? Because Allah did not give you access to the hearts of people. And you never know what these people are doing. You don't know everything about these people, and especially you have no clue about their hearts and their intentions. So people don't have to be like you. People, they don't have to be the way you want them. And people don't have to agree with you all the time. And I mentioned something that we practice that we need to learn is there is something called agree to disagree. You deal with someone, you can to disagree on one issue. We talked about it a couple of times. It's clear that you have different opinions. You could not convince me, I could not convince you. It's not the end of the world, let's park it. Let's focus on the issues where we agree and see what we can do in those areas. So people don't have to even agree with you all the time. You are not their creator, you are not their judge. Now you may tell me that if you're saying all of this, how can I educate my child? How can I raise my child? How can I change the behavior of people? How can we educate people or do any tazkiyah or tarbiyah to people? That's the big question. The way we're doing it the wrong way. If you want to have any influence on people, then you have to have solid relationships with them. Then you have to fulfill all of these things that we mentioned. Because that's what opens the door for you to change people. It's the solid relationship that opens the door for you to change people or influence them. They are willing to listen to you. If there is no mutual understanding, mutual acceptance, mutual respect, then there will be no room for you to have any influence on people. So when you say that, if you are wondering, how can I ask you to accept and respect someone, even if this person is doing a lot of things that are wrong, and if I accept them, how can I change it? No, you accept them so that you can change it. You accept the person so that you can have any influence on that person. No tarbiyah, no da'wah, nothing without relationship. No influence, no parenting, nothing can happen without relationship. Now, we're talking about changing. Of course, changing that which is wrong, not changing that which you don't like. You're going to have to differentiate between the two, even when you're dealing with your children. There are things that you may not like, and it's okay. Why? Because your preference is different than your child's preference. It's a matter of culture. You were raised in a different culture. We're talking about things that are wrong, deen, religiously wrong. So we're talking about there are some things that are Islamically wrong. So these have to be corrected. Or flow of character flow. These are the things that have to be changed. It's not things that are not according to your preference. That's something that you don't have to change. And people, they don't have to agree on this. So let's talk about that. Even if you want to change, that wrong behavior, the way we're doing it is wrong. It doesn't happen with yelling or shouting or forcing yourself or your opinion on people. It happens through this way. Effective communication, listening to understand, mutual acceptance, mutual respect, mutual understanding. All of this, you're building the foundation so that you can, and open the doors for you so that you can have a positive influence on people. A lot of cases I'm exposed to where the children are no longer listening to their parents because of they feel they are not respected or they are not accepted, or even the love of their parents is conditional. It's not, they don't feel that unconditional caring and kindness and love of their parents. Why? Because their parents cannot differentiate between the person and the behavior. So when they attack the child himself. And they shake the child's self-confidence, and then the whole relationship is broken, and anything that the parents are saying after that is meaningless. The child is no longer listening. Why? Because you sealed the door with lack of respect. You did not try to understand what he's going through. You confused behavior and the individual, or the person and the behavior. You lost it. Your child is not listening to you. You're talking to yourself. And this is not one case or 10, or I'm exposed to these cases all the time. And when you talk to the child and get the child to open up for you, that's what you find at the bottom of it. He's no longer sure that he feels that his parent does not respect him and is not accepting him. And then when they're attacking him as an individual, not attacking or criticizing the particular behavior. So we're talking about change. That's the way to do it. There can be, again, let me repeat, there can be no da'wah without relationships. There can be no parenting without relationship. There can be no real family life without solid relationship. Spousal relationships without solid spousal relationship, there can be no family life, etc., etc. So it starts with effective communication, listening to each other. They call it active listening. Listen to understand. And I mentioned the example of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam with the leader of Quraysh, who was practically insulting him. First of all, he was an enemy at that time. So an enemy talking to Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, listening. And this man was practically insulting Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Say, if you are doing this, just you are because you want to be king, we'll appoint you king. Forget about this da'wah thing that you're doing. If you're doing what you're doing just to be rich, we'll make you the richest. If you are mad, have mental problem, we'll find a way to treat you. Insulting him. And the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not interrupt. That such a person talking this way. How can we afford to interrupt each other when I'm just saying something that is different? I'm just expressing opinion that is different than yours. The next thing that we have, that we need, again, I said that the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam job, that's the job description that was written in the Quran, is what? Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in addition to be the role model and the messenger who convey the revelation, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam job is teaching and mentoring. يزكيهم ويعلمهم. يزكيهم ويعلمهم. Mentoring and teaching. You want to be like Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you should be in the business of mentoring and teaching. You want to mentor and teach, you have to establish these solid relationships with people. There is no way you can do this exercise of mentoring and teaching if you don't have that solid relationship. So the relationship is like the channel. You establish the channel and then you say what you have to say. Without those channels, you're talking to yourself. In addition to everything that we have mentioned so far, there are two more items that are crucial for a solid relationship that will open the door for you to have any positive influence on people. One is trust. That's even more crucial than anything else. That's if it is breached, relationship is gone, and the possibility of you having any influence on anybody, it's gone. Because your words become worthless. Your words doesn't carry any weight if people don't trust you. Trust is essential to maintain, and it's very delicate. Why? Because it needs to be breached only once, and it is gone. It's like a cup, if it is broken, doesn't go back, no matter what you do. That's trust. It's something that you keep working on it all your life. Day in, day out. The day you make a mistake, it's gone. Because there is no such thing as a person who is 90% trustworthy, or 90% honest, or 90% truthful, or 95. It's true, it's yes or no, pass or fail. So you want to maintain solid relationships, starting from home and to the bigger circles. You have to be a very trustworthy person, very honest, and maintain your integrity. And the key to this is what? Again, we find this the key. We found that the key to the good manners, akhlaq, was what? Was sadaq, truthfulness. That you never lie under any circumstances. And lying, not only the flagrant lying, even the half-truth, the exaggeration, all the forms of lying. You don't lie. You don't lie, you become trustworthy. You become trustworthy, people are willing to listen to you, are ready to listen to you. Trust is essential. And again, from the many cases that I was exposed to, I find that the problem, especially either between spouses or between parents and children, always at a certain point in time, trust was broken. That's why this whole mess, if you go deep from all the appearance, you find at the heart of it or at the roots of it, the trust was broken at a certain point in time. Somebody has done something to break that trust. It's very essential to maintain, and again, it's not easy. And again, if you breach it once, it's gone. It cannot be rebuilt. So you want to keep solid relationship at any level. You want to acquire all the good manners, as the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam says. فإن الصدق ليهدي إلى البر. You become truthful, and then you remain truthful all the time, until you become, in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, siddiqan. It's very, very essential. And nowadays, by the way, it's in a very short supply. Trust is a very, very short supply. Honesty is a very short supply. The reason why relationships are weak nowadays, superficial, and people don't care about what they're saying to each other, it's because there is no trust. And I visited societies, I noticed that people are lying to one another, and they know they are lying to one another. And therefore, nobody believing one another. So the whole communication and discussion became useless. Why? Because of lack of trust. And lack of trust is hurting not only social life, not only family life, it's hurting even economies. It's hurting everything. Lack of trust is causing harm and damage to everything. So it's very important that you maintain your honesty, your integrity, so that your words carry weight. People, they are not listening. Even your child, by the way, is not ready to listen to someone they don't trust. So that's a very essential to keep our integrity and our honesty and truthfulness. The next on the list is also an essential characteristic that is also in short supply nowadays, and that's for a number of reasons. It's nowadays the emotions, compassion, love, affections are in very short supply even within the family. Very low level. And there are a number of reasons of this. We're going to have, inshallah, to address them when we have time and try to tackle this. Because that's become very serious. The whole family, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, is established on this. وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. That's the basis or the foundation of the family, is affection and mercy. One reason for this is the version of Islam that we inherited, that came from the desert, was very dry, has no love in it. It doesn't have love of Allah to begin with. It's not even something that you talk about. So spirituality is weak, love of Allah is weak, and therefore this whole idea, it's almost like haram to talk about these things. Why? Because of that dry, rigid version of Islam that came from the desert and dominated, and became so widespread in the world, unfortunately. It's an Islam that is stripped from spirituality, from emotions, from everything. Very dry, very rigid. To the point that in certain squares or areas, if you want to show that you are a good Muslim, you're going to have to be rude and tough. That's an indication that you are taqi. You are a pious person. You are someone who is tough, even in family, and tough in the community and rude. And of course, the extreme version of this is terrorism. But that's only the extreme version of it. These are the people who go to the end. But even of those who don't go to the end, they end up with this very dull life, which cannot help having solid relationship. I call this emotions or affection, it's like the engine oil. Just imagine a car without oil. That's what keeps the relationship smooth and life smooth. So it's very essential that we pay attention to this and then try to deal with it. And inshallah, we'll come to this with more details. The second thing is materialism. Life became very materialistic, and those relationships and emotion and social life, all of this does not, you cannot take it to the bank and cash it. It does have no monetary value. So many people, they start seeing all of this as waste of time. And that's why people are not having those very superficial and shallow relationships and no longer visit each other or spend time with one another because of materialism. People are caught in the cycle of making more money to spend more money. And they have no time for all of these things that do not bring money. And the last reason for this is technology. Nowadays, people, they might be at home, all of them at home, but everybody is in his world. Everybody is playing with his toy or with cell phone, smartphone, whatever. And they are in a different world. That is killing relationships in the family and killing family life and social life. To the point that probably we become in need of some sort of policy at home for this technology. Having some space that is free of technology, or some time where nobody should be using it, so that people can have time to interact. Because rarely nowadays people have any time to interact at home because of this disease that is becoming so widespread. It is hurting not only relationships and family life, it is affecting the performance of children in school and in their education. Because it's becoming an addiction. There are children nowadays, they cannot leave their cell phone for a minute. What kind of concentration this child is going to have on his homework or preparation for any test, for anything? They end up just doing the minimum to get by. So these things we need to be aware of them and pay attention to this, and then not only talk about them and give up and yield, but also find a way and find a remedy and solution to Allah. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونتوب إليه نعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. My dear respected brother and sister, in Islam, in conclusion, it's very important for us whenever we talk about any issue. One is not to limit ourselves to describing the issue and talking about it, but trying to diagnose it, trying to find what the root cause of it. And two, we should not give up. I mean, things can be changed. If you understand the problem and then you understand the root cause of it, and you have the will and you have the wisdom, you can change. Things don't have to be like this. So we're going in the wrong direction as we're getting farther and farther apart from one another. Relationships are getting weaker and weaker and superficial, but things can be changed and can be reversed and fixed. ربنا اتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم اشف مرضانا وارحم موتانا وتوفنا وتراض عنا واختم بالصالحات أعمالنا واجعل خير أعمالنا خواتمها وخير أيامنا من نلقاك ومتعنا اللهم بالنظر إلى وجهك الكريم. ربنا ارحم والدينا كما ربونا صغارا وارحم موتانا وجميع موتى المسلمين. اللهم أعنا على ذكرك وشكرك وطاعتك وحسن عبادتك. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وأعنا على اجتنابه. اللهم لا تدع لنا في جمعنا هذا ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا حاجة هي لك رضا إلا قضيتها. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إنا كنا من الظالمين. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد.